Hey, friends. Are we live? Everything look good? We're good. Awesome. Welcome to the award-winning... I was looking up for my camera. See, we change things around each time. Which camera do I talk into? I'll just do this one right here.
Right there.
The award-winning 21 Gun Podcast, thanks to military veterans in journalism for the honor of being one of their top 10 vets in journalism for 2020. Really, that was awesome. I can't believe they did that, especially the fact that it's me they gave it to. If you want to learn more about military veterans in journalism, head over to MVJ.network. So a lot of people are writers or whatever, and they want to get into the journalism world. Look at, I'm totally, I don't know if this will be, because I can't see the camera, Jeremy, so let me know if this is clear. Look at that.
You're
I even have this, where is it? Press. I'm a member of the press. I'm a member of the fake news. But yeah, if you want to learn more about them, head over to MVJ.network. You can write out the whole network. And also we had Baby Garcia, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, Jeremy. She came from that organization. So if you ever want to learn about it, go listen to that episode. Very lovely lady. And we had fun with that. Last week's episode was a freaking home run. I mean,
absolutely amazing.
It was a good show.
That was a good blow out of the water type show. That was, again, every show, we always have people cooler, and that just...
Well, it's just, that's easy. I mean, it's like someone cooler than me is my 6-year-old. So
I was going to say, we could always put a trash can here for us. I mean...
Pretty low bar to set. But yeah, great episode. Check it out for last week. It's always hard to, when you set the bar that high, it's always hard to get back in and do something even better. So this will probably be a mediocre show. If you want to bail, just, I'm kidding.
Don't bail.
Welcome,
no.
welcome to the official podcast of the Irreverent Warriors, the only show you need to watch or listen to get the latest news and up-to-date information about your pasty thigh love and silkies hikes, special events, and gardening advice. I bet you didn't know that. We were a gardening show too. Ooh. That sounds like a joke, but I had a guy on last year, Don Tobel, another episode, check out. Don Tobel has OD Greens, and he does like hydroponic gardening, and it's called agrotherapy. And it was fascinating because I work on my garden, right? I'm not afraid to admit. I go out there and I raise, I don't know what you call it, raise my flowers, my cucumbers, my tomatoes. And I don't know, Jeremy, do you garden at all? I don't see you as a gardener.
So I used to as a kid because I used to love it. But the way people like to run to the store and buy things in bulk, I think I just might.
Yeah. It's, it really, there's a therapeutic sense to it. Like when I come home from work, if the kids are going crazy or whatever, I grab my shears and I just go out and I take care of my plants. So yeah, interesting show there. Look at this is today's episode is like one of those old sitcoms where they just go back and talk about all the other shows. So yeah, Don Tobel, check him out last year. I don't like knitting though. I want to bring that up because it's almost in the same area. It's almost in the same ballpark. If you like to garden and play with flowers, you're also like, I had a friend, not even a friend. It was a dude that told me he liked to knit, and I wanted to fight him right there. But if that's your thing, awesome. Go ahead and knit, I guess.
Pull a demolition man. I got this. I'm out of jail. I'm hunting a bad guy. I got this uncontrollable urge to knit. Knit a
sweater.
Did
that happen on that movie? I don't even remember.
Yeah, he knitted a rug or something.
It's been so long, I just remember the 3 shells. Something about the 3 shells when he takes a shit, he needs to...
Give it time. Give it time.
Upcoming shows, we have Dr. Mark Gordon coming on soon. Looks like it's going to be February. That's going to be a special episode that'll be on a Sunday, maybe a Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. I don't know, but it'll be available to watch. Important show. I mention it all the time. I know, broken record, but he is at the cutting edge in dealing with traumatic brain injury and PTS. I'm a patient of his, and I can tell you 100% that his protocol is fantastic and way better than all the drugs that the conventional approaches put you on. So that'll be out in February, I believe. We also have a Vet TV alum coming on. He's a social media giant, I'll call him, Aram Cho. Actually, do you know what? Can you bring up number 12?
I sure can. That would be the last one.
When I was doing some research for Aram, I found this documentary that he was in.
Which one was number 12?
It was the
yes. Here we go.
Memorial
Thank you.
Run. Yeah. So just click the watch trailer. There you go. Dude, who's the boomer here?
You said bring it up. You didn't say play.
So that's Aram right there. There's no sound. It's all right. Oh, there we go.
Driving across the country again. We're going to go meet with the Attorney General when we get to Washington, D.C.
So these guys ran across the country. Pretty cool thing. They raised money for families of fallen police officers. I think that there is okay, you can take that down. I think that there is definitely a similarity between law enforcement and military personnel, especially nowadays. The suicide rate for law enforcement is going up. So we're two communities that are similar in our principles and that are struggling right now. And his area is really struggling. Actually, we're both struggling. Military suicides are up 20% this year. So it's always good. It's always good to have someone come on. I don't think he's a veteran, but he's a cop, and it'll be a good show. Who else do we have coming on? Oh, next week we have, do you know what? I asked his name and I didn't write it down on my notes. Gritty Soldier, GRITTY soldier.com. He runs a fitness thing about getting people prepared for the Rangers. Really cool guy. I think physical fitness is extremely important. Again, we talk about mental health all the time, and I think he'll have some really good insight as far as that goes. Tonight's guest is Sergeant Sean Ambriz. He told me Ambriz.
Ambriz.
He's an author, speaker, entrepreneur, veteran advocate. He's an MP who served in Afghanistan a couple times, and he is still active duty. He seems like a cool guy. He actually showed up on my feed. Do you remember right before Christmas? It might have been right around Thanksgiving. There was a kid, an airsoft kid, that was kind of doing drills, like tactical reloads and stuff. And the veteran, some members of the veteran community started harassing this kid. It was total bullshit, right?
Assholes.
So he popped up on my feed somehow, and it was like, let's help this kid out. Let's send him patches and stuff like that. And actually, I called the gun store that put it all together, and I think it might be on my website. He's still accepting stuff, so if you guys have patches, whatever, send this kid. But anyways, Sean showed up on my feed with that, so I don't know. He'll be fun to chat with.
It'd be awesome.
What's new with the IWs, Jeremy? I don't know, because I'm just not cool enough. No one ever tells me. I just come on and speak for the organization, so I find out if I just make stuff up, that works too. But no, what's the scuttlebutt, as you sexy sailors say?
Oh man, see, as I wasn't a sailor, we didn't use.
No, I didn't mean you. I mean you as in general.
So as of now, we had just had our leadership conference last weekend, and that was to basically sit down, hash out SOPs, and basically all the leadership can get together and get to know each other and hash out the details for upcoming hikes.
Sure,
official hike.
It pretty much sets off the year, right? Once they're done with that, we're pretty much ready to go and start these hikes.
That's basically the kickoff. And on top of that, if we have any new merchandise coming out, new partnerships, team building, things like that, just to really, fine tune everything. So as the year kicks off for hikes, everybody knows what to do. So everyone's not going, I don't know what to do,
right.
Now.
I think another important thing is they're switching vendors for the clothing line. So if you're going on Irreverent Warriors trying to buy some swag, you might have some issues. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Jeremy, you said it was like a week.
Give it about a week. It's usually, I'm not trying to step on some toes, but give it a little bit of time. And then once things get settled, things will change over. So if people are trying to message everyone going, why can't I buy anything? You know why. So now you're not going to yell at us and go, it's your fault.
That's right. Let's say you want more than one Irreverent Warriors t-shirt to wear every single day. So that would be more than 7. Let's say actually 7 is too much. You can also head over to Grunt Style. Our partners at Grunt Style. Pick yourself up an IW shirt where a percentage of the proceeds, I've already forgotten the percentage of the proceeds. A percentage of the proceeds goes back to IW. So I have one of those shirts. I haven't worn it yet. I'm wearing my Irreverent Warriors one with the donkey and the guy tossing a grenade over his shoulder. So that's cool. And there's also a women's cut. Don't forget that. That is the women's cut.
Yep.
That's the women's cut or the Mike Bosher cut?
It's the yes cut. It's a very tight cut.
I'm kidding, Michael. Not really.
The tight cut.
Yeah. So that's it, really, I have for announcements. I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Other than that, just keep an eye on the Irreverent Warriors website, irreverentwarriors.com. As hikes are continuing to go on, as we do know during this pandemic, things do change. So keep an eye out on the site as well as your local Facebook pages and social media groups on any kind of updates and changes, and they will be posting that frequently.
Awesome. First two hikes are going to be March 6th and March, what's 6 plus 7? 13th. 6th
13th.
is, who's the 6th?
Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the 13th is Hawaii. So that's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have, I believe her name is Noelle, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to have Noelle on the show, who's a coordinator over there. And she's going to tell us everything about getting out to Hawaii. That's going to be crazy. That's like a, 18-hour flight.
It's a lot.
I won't be able to make that. I can't make it, dude. I can't make it if it's past 3 hours from my house. But I am jealous because I've never been to Hawaii. As much of the world I've seen, I've never seen beyond, I want to say like Pakistan. And I wasn't even really there officially. But yeah, I haven't gone, what is that, west? Hold on. What was I? A navigator? Oh, east. Yeah, I haven't gone further east than, where's Kazakhstan? Is that further east than Pakistan?
It's that way.
I might have been there.
It's that way.
Egypt is south. Yeah, I don't know. But no, I've never been in that area. You guys, I mean, whoever's going to that hike is going to be freaking awesome, especially this time of the year. So looking forward to that. And then, yeah, we'll start announcing hikes as they come up. All right, Jeremy, time for news of the AOR. Professional.
Boom.
I should have had like a turn when that happened.
Blew your mind.
I just hit my nose on that too.
See, what you could have done is you could have gone to camera 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hold on, let's do that.
Yo,
that's pretty
there it
professional.
is.
That's pretty professional. Let's see. Do you like movies, Jeremy? I think the last movie I saw was with you and John. We had a triple date, the three of us. You kept asking me to reach into your popcorn bucket, and I was a little freaked out about that. And then at the end, there was a hole in the bucket.
You asked for extra butter on the popcorn, and I tried to give you extra butter, and you would not assist.
It was a little awkward. That was 1917, not the year, although it feels like it was that long ago. But that was the last movie I saw in a theater because of this fucking COVID thing. If you miss being able to see a movie and want to watch something together with a bunch of veterans, military.com is screaming a free movie tomorrow night. Can you bring that up? I don't know if you have it up on there. So basically, it's called Born a Champion. Actor Sean Patrick Flannery plays a Marine who is a legendary Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter in the new movie Born a Champion. We're all invited to a free screening set for Friday, January 22nd at 7 p.m. Now, I have the link. What I'll do is I'll put it in the show notes below, or just go on military.com and put Born a Champion. You'll see it. It's 7 p.m. tomorrow. Here's the cool thing. It's free. So I think there's like a, when you click on the link, there's a, what do you call that? Like a promo code. But when I signed up for it, there was nothing. So it's free, and there's only a couple hundred slots to watch this. So if you like MMA, which I like MMA, if you like Marines, which I like Marines, this might be the movie for you. So I thought that was kind of cool. Let's go. We're not going to talk about Chuck Yeager again this week. I wanted to.
Again?
Oh, is this the trailer?
It's the trailer, yeah.
Oh, all right, let's see this. I want to see what this looks like.
Play.
How you doing, son? Marine, huh? I was commanding officer myself. I only lost one Marine. His best friend waited there guarding his body until it could be extracted. You ever hear that story before, son? I always wanted to meet the man that carried my son off that table. When I got out of the military, all I learned is fighting. But I want you to be different.
Dude's like my age. I could still be an MMA fighter.
Old? Yeah, probably.
I cornered for a guy. Little known fact about Kevin Sullivan. I was a North Carolina cut man. I was an officially licensed cut man. I cornered for a guy who was 41 or 42. And I'm like, you're insane. All right, you can take that down. It seems to be lagging or whatever that's called. Yeah, it was a cut man for him. Those are my old days of being in the fight game. I don't look tough, but I think I am kind of a little bit. It's probably the douchiest thing I've ever said.
I'd probably be a little worried, not going to lie.
How about, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. How about a little Navy love before we bring our guest on?
A little bit, not a lot.
So
just a little.
There's some, and this is more of like an aviators thing, right? So there is some rivalry between the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force pilots, right? Aviation wise, there's a lot of, who's the best? Obviously, it's the Air Force. It's what we do. But I have to give credit where credit's due, and that's landing on an aircraft carrier. That is some crazy shit. There's two things I can't wrap around my head with aviation. One of them is a helicopter. I hate helicopters. I hated flying in helicopters. They shouldn't fly. They're the perfect example that we live in a simulation, because logically helicopters should not fly, but they do. So that's number one. Number two is landing on an aircraft carrier. It doesn't happen. It can't happen, but it does. So that means we're in a simulation. If you want to know what the simulation theory is, go back a few episodes. I talk about it a little bit. So to give you an idea, right, in the C-130, we used to do what was called assault landings, and that's short runway. So the C-130 is 132 feet wide, and the runway's 50 feet wide. So can you pull up the Pope Air Force Base? I think it's number 6. All right, so check this out. What you'll see in this picture is, if you can blow up that one on the right there, that image, that's where I used to fly. That's my old, oh, come on.
Oh, we're going to do this.
Just go back and do the pinch and there you go. Oh, right there. That's perfect. Maybe blow it up. Can you do the pinch and open like you do? You know that thing you do with your fingers on the mouse pad?
Yeah, I got you.
Let's see. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see, but right there is the main runway, right? That's like 6,000 feet. That's a typical runway. Now, right in the middle and to the right, you see that real skinny line? That is an assault landing. So like what we used to do is, for a while in Baghdad, we were landing on the taxiway, right? So they can take these little small areas, and C-130s are badass enough that we can land on usually, I mean, they're 3,000 foot long, at least this one was, but we can land in, it's been a while, but I want to say about 1,500 feet. We can actually get the aircraft safely landed and stopped, which is pretty insane for an aircraft. Now pull up a, what do you call it? An aircraft carrier. That is 300 feet. So think about this. That is 1/10 of the little runway that I just showed you now. And it looks to me like it's probably as wide. Like, that makes no sense. 300 feet in an aircraft. If anyone on here has ever been an aviator, you're moving so fast that 300 feet it's like you blink your eye. And you hear blink of an eye, but it truly is. Like, you blink your eye and 300 feet's gone. So yeah, that's just totally insane for me. So with that said, pull up video number 8. This is freaking insane. When I watched this, I actually started sweating a little bit. All right, so he's coming in on the left there. First off, Navy, what's with your freaking black and white? This only happened not long ago. Cable snaps, and watch. Whoop, there he goes. Now ready? He comes back out. He saved it. He recovered that aircraft.
Friggin' Maverick over here.
That'll give me nightmares tonight. Anytime I see aviation stuff, I get freaked out. But yeah, dude, that's insane. So when I was going down the rabbit hole for that, I was looking up, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I get bored and then I start going down a YouTube rabbit hole. I found a C-130, my plane, landing on an aircraft carrier. This is back in, I want to say, the early 60s, might have been even been the late 50s. That's video number 9. Look at this. Actually, it looks just like the last video, 50 years apart.
Still stands. To carry out the landing, Flatley puts propellers in reverse pitch while he was still 10 or 15 feet in the air to land.
That's pretty awesome. They did a good job. I mean, they landed that. It didn't look like it was hairy at all.
At that first landing, the Hercules weighed 85,000 pounds.
85,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's pretty much empty. So I think our max gross takeoff was like 160,000 pounds. In the desert, you couldn't take off with more than, I don't know, maybe 120, 130,000, because it was so hot. You would take off and the plane wouldn't want to climb. So there was plenty of times where I'm looking over because I didn't strap in, which is why I hurt my brain. But I was standing behind the co-pilot and I'm watching the radar altimeter, which tells you how far you are off the ground.
Right.
And it's so hot out. We're so overloaded. We're filled with fuel. Actually, I think we were heading up to Oman, Jordan. And as we come off the runway, it's like normally you'll see like 50, 60, 70. It just climbs up pretty quickly. It was like 80 feet, 79 feet. 75 feet, 82 feet. I mean, and this was like, we're 3 miles down out past the runway, and this plane is just trying to climb. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. And then the last thing I want to show, what time is it? 8:20. We got time.
Plenty of time.
I want to do, Jeremy says I showed you this video yet. I don't remember, but I'm going to get out my stopwatch here. And this is a pilot doing exactly what we just showed, landing on a stopwatch, landing on an aircraft carrier. But watch how long he goes without blinking his eyes. He's so focused in on what he's doing. So it should bring you right to the point where he's okay. Ready? So I'll hack a watch. You press play.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So watch him. He doesn't blink.
Oh, he blinked.
Did he blink?
Yeah, he blinked.
All right. I'll minus 3 seconds from the end. This is the same plane that we just saw, by the way. Not the same one. Same type. Wasn't the same one that snapped the cable.
The other pilot is blinking. He's just going.
Yeah, he's the co-pilot. He's like still new at this, and he's like, shit, what did I sign myself up for? I want to fly for American Airlines. All right, he's at 35 seconds without blinking.
Oh, look at that face.
Yep. Oh God, great. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. So that was a good 40. We'll give him 43 seconds, which actually doesn't sound too impressive. It was more impressive when I watched it, but now that I actually did the numbers, not too impressed. So fuck you, Navy. Let's move on. A few months ago, we showed you a video of a Vietnam era guy who was firing an M60 for the first time from the hip, which was pretty cool. I wish I brought the video to this one because it'd be kind of fun to watch that again. But I found another one, and this is a World War II veteran firing a howitzer for the first time since 1944. This is a pretty cool vid. Artillery boom. Gregory, this one's for you, buddy. If you guys are wondering who I'm talking about, that's the VILF.
VILF guy.
So he's old.
Just looking at him and having those conversations with him, it's just like having the conversations with one of my soldiers. You know, it's like he never left.
Oh, they're from Mass.
Look at this guy. Awesome.
That's what I had. I was keeping section of 105 millimeter house.
You know how many Nazis that guy killed? Like real Nazis?
Oh, way more than I'd like to count and enjoy.
Even just some of the things he was saying.
Good for him.
He was an old red-leg at heart. So it was awesome to give him that opportunity.
I couldn't believe that.
I think it said he was 97.
Everything makes me appreciate it even more. You know, that people like him are still around and can give back to the younger ones. And
this is totally a Massachusetts Guard unit, isn't it?
Probably.
He had like.
I'm looking at the waistlines to see if these guys are Guard, maybe reserves.
Looking for them tennis shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
How long's this video? I want to see him shoot. It's pretty much the same weapon, right? I mean, yeah, it's 75 years ago, but I mean, and I'm sure some of the, I'm going to make up words because I don't know how freaking artillery works. The aimer things. I'm sure some of that stuff has been updated. Do it. Nice. With his little jitney. They call that a jitney, don't they?
Yep.
Awesome, dude. What a cool guy. I want
That's
to do
awesome.
that. I want to. Do you know what? I want to be an old man and have someone take me on a C-130 assault landing. I think that would be cool.
You know what? Why not?
I haven't flown. So most, this is going to sound like I'm bitching. I'm not bitching. But most flyers, you get what's called a finny flight. And, you know, whether you're retiring or whatever it is, and they spray you down with like a fire hose or whatever they have, it's usually a good time. My brother-in-law got one. He retired as a 05 navigator. I got my injury, never flew again. That was February of 2006, I think. I can't remember. I came off the aircraft, went to the hospital, and never set foot on an aircraft ever again. Not knowing that would be the last time I got off the aircraft. So I think I should, hey, my folks out there, I got a lot of friends now that are like 05s and 06s. Get me on a C-130. Get me a finny flight. That would be freaking awesome. I'm serious. I am
Do it
at this point.
Make his day.
Yeah. So that's it. That was all the news around the AOR. I don't really have anything else as far as what to share with that. So why don't we bring on our guest, Sergeant? I don't know. Excuse me if I don't know your rank. I would just say I just call every NCO Sergeant Ambriz. No,
Yeah,
I don't call them all Sergeant Ambriz. That would be a little weird. But what are you? Staff Sergeant? I don't know. I don't know Army how it works.
Star first class.
Sergeant First Class. Yeah,
It's
is
an
that
E7.
similar? E7? Oh shit! Good job, man.
Thanks.
How many years you got left? I was looking at your bio and I was like, you got at least 8, 10?
Yeah, I hit 13 next month.
Okay. All right. So you're
Right.
good. Look, I'm gonna make a prediction. E9 by the end of 2024. I was a former officer. I can make that happen. I'm just kidding. So, Sean, there's podcasting, there's documentaries, we have social media, celebrity veterans. They're great tools for veteran advocates to get their message out. You told your story the classic way by writing a book called Ghosts of the Valley. What was the driving force behind your decision to write about your experiences?
I didn't set out to write a book. I was just kind of going through a hard time when I got here to Fort Leonard last year. So I just decided to kind of put my pen on paper for myself. And somebody had picked it up and read it and said that it should be a book. And I just happened, everything just kind of aligned right. I had a publisher that read it, picked it up, and he wanted it. So
cool. And this, if I remember right, he's like a military sort of publishing or something like that, or
yeah, he publishes a lot of the books on the base, a lot of the mentor books, leadership books, and stuff like that. And I think this was his first or second memoir that he picked up.
Sure. So there was a bit of what we would say, I'm going to use big words for Jeremy here, but like healing and personal catharsis to getting your thoughts out on paper.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it helped me out a lot more than I thought it would. So, I really am glad that I did it.
Sure. And when you're writing your stuff down, how do you approach it? Meaning like, do you just try to go, what do they call that when you go in order? Chronologically, yeah, or do you just sit down for 20 minutes and be like, all right, let's see what comes out, and then have to put it all together at the end?
Yeah, I think I started chronologically, but the book's not formatted. I mean, I guess it is. It's not the first chapter, but
sure.
But yeah, I did it chronologically, and I just kind of talked, and then I even put little side notes or internal dialogue of what I was thinking in that moment, that firefight and stuff like that.
Sure.
Just to kind of remember, what I was feeling during those moments.
Writing your stuff down does help a lot. I don't know if you've ever been through any of the cognitive processing therapy or anything like that, but the majority of it is writing down, getting your thoughts. Because what happens is when you revisit things in your head, there's usually, especially if you're in like a stressful memory, right? It's never really the way it happened, right? So you think about it, and then you think about, okay, I could have done this, I could have done that, and then you start getting into this weird spiral. But by writing things down and then looking at the way things panned out from your memory and saying, hey, do you know what? I don't think it's, or basically challenging these thought spirals that you got into, allow you to move on. Man, I highly recommend anyone who's struggling or anything like that, get into journaling, get into, or go through a CPT program, cognitive processing therapy. I went into it thinking there's nothing, like I'm in medicine. So I'm like, oh, I know the playbook. This isn't going to help me at all. And it works. It really, really works. I assume that there's a DOD process to getting a book out. Is there? And did they have to read it and be like, you can't really talk about this, you can't really talk about that?
Yeah, I had to submit mine to the Pentagon, and then they sent it over to CENTCOM, and then CENTCOM, who's in charge of Iraq and Afghanistan, had to read it for the authenticity of the battles and the awards that were given out.
Okay.
And it wasn't that bad of a process as I thought it would be. I think it was like in total from the moment I sent it and got it back like 2 months.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I didn't have to change anything. I think the only thing that got changed is they wanted like one picture taken out. It was just like a casualty of a local national. So
yeah. I wonder if there's any difference between an active duty versus, like, I listened to Matt Best talk about the book that he put out, and it's like there's so much that was redacted in it, and I guess because he did some contracting with the CIA and stuff, there's a lot of stuff they don't want to get out there. But yeah, I imagine that is a process. Do you think it was at all easier because you were active duty, and then here's the next question: suppose someone doesn't want to go that route, are they in danger of being sued or being jailed, I guess, for putting out information that's not approved?
Yeah, if you're still active duty, yeah, you got to remember you don't have a voice, you don't have the right or the freedom of speech, like, you know, when you're out. And so me being active duty, I just can't say whatever I want still. But because I was telling a story that was true and is covered with documentation of certain events that happened, it wasn't difficult. But yeah, I guess it just depends on what you're trying to talk about, what kind of story you're trying to tell.
Sure. I'm going to read a quote from your book. A small part of me wants to place, hold on, let me put it over here so I can do it better. A small part of me wants to place the details on paper to help with my healing process. We just talked about that. A bigger part of me wants to tell the story of gods, my friends, those I served and fought with. To me, were gods, and you couldn't tell me otherwise. Every morning they laced up their boots, met with death, and punched him in the face. In doing so, my duty is to tell the stories of their heroics, to enlighten the younger generation and prepare them for the experiences for their ultimately inevitable face-off with death. So a common theme, or at least that I used to bring up a lot in the podcast, is what duty do veterans have for one another? Now, this kind of goes back to that quote because of the motives for you writing the book. But does our service to each other end when we take off the uniform?
No, I think especially for combat veterans, someone who's experienced the other side with a group of individuals. You know, I still talk to, like, you know, Major Zagor here is in the chat. You know, he was one of the doctors I worked in the aid station with, and, you know, he took me under his wing. Being that I'm an MP, but when I got to Afghanistan, they told me I was a medic, and it was not my scope of practice. I've never done it before, and it was guys like him that enabled me to be successful and hopefully help people. So, and here we are, you know, 10 plus years later, and I still talk to them. So, yeah, it doesn't end when the uniform comes off. That's just not that's not how we're built. So.
Sure, I agree. I've got a bunch of answers to that question from all sides. Some people are like, no, it's not really, you know, you can move on or whatever. But I seriously think that we owe it to each other to take that time, which is why we say all the time on the show, call, text, do whatever to get in touch with someone you served with. Even if they get annoyed by it, that's kind of your duty. These are your buddies. And just because the bullets aren't flying anymore doesn't mean that you owe something to them. But that's just my personal take on it. I've actually heard a bunch of different takes on that. How did you approach writing a nonfiction account of folks you served with? And what I mean by that is, like, if I told a story about a certain mission that we flew in Afghanistan, and then the loadmaster told the same story, and then the co-pilot told a story, and then the aircraft commander told it, would come out completely different. And people would be like, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. How do you go without misrepresenting an event or insulting someone or offending someone?
Yeah, I mean, I hopefully I didn't do that, and if I did, I don't know about it. But, you know,
sure. There
was a guy that came to my house last night, actually, that I served with, and I hadn't seen him since the battle. He just happened to be at Fort Leonard Wood, so it's been, you know, 10, 11 years since the last time I seen him. And we were talking about this certain event, and I was like, no way. You know, we were just exchanging the story, like, from his perspective and mine. Yeah, and there were things that I missed, I didn't know, and he kind of enlightened me and told me and filled those gaps. And I had a little bit better understanding of why things happened in that battle. And that's fine. Like, yeah, the story's going to sound 20 different ways from 20 different dudes, but I tried to do as a good of a job as I could by recording everything. So I have a lot of pictures and video. Specifically from the battles, I recorded a lot just because I wanted to document it as well as I could. So I reverted back to those to help me in my writing process. And then I talked to a lot of individuals prior to writing that were there. But even then, even if I didn't do any of that, at the end of the day, the story is told from my perspective. I'm not a historian. I'm not saying this is how it started, how it ended from every perspective. I've done all the research. It's literally just a story of things that I witnessed and I witnessed others do during these battles.
Okay. Yeah, I always, because, you know, part of me thinks at some point maybe I'll write a book or something like that, but that's one of the most terrifying things is misrepresenting someone or telling a story the way I remember it. There was this whole study about memory is really terrible. Like if a bunch of people witness a robbery, what your brain does, it can only take in so much information, but it knows its surroundings. So it says, okay, a shot was fired over here. A car screeched and pulled out. What happened in between that? Well, the guy must have ran to his car. He must have been running. It must have been a he. It must have, and then and it becomes your reality. It becomes the actual story, and you can swear to it. You can be like, absolutely, 100%, this is how it happened, because that is how it happened, at least to you. So, yeah, that always scares me. Another question I have, and I like I said, I didn't finish your book because I just picked it up yesterday. For the listeners, I didn't know Sean had a book. I guess I did, but I'm freaking busy. So then I looked and I'm like, oh shit, he's got a book. So I tried to read most of it in the last 18 hours. How do you avoid writing about shit bags? And what I mean by that is, I served with some majority of people, if anyone's watching that I served with, right? Most of the people we served with were awesome. There were a couple of shitbags, and I feel like that's an important part of the story. But like I said about misrepresent, I mean, I wouldn't know how to approach that. What did you do in that situation? Did you have to bring up anyone that was a shitbag?
No, I think there was like one story, but it was a side story in between the deployments that had nothing to do with the combat. Surprisingly, and I don't know if it was just luck or chance or what, but both my deployments, the individuals I served with, I didn't have any issues with any of them. Everyone was pretty spot on, and that's kind of significant. Of the two battles I fought in, specifically how successful we were is how well we clicked and how everyone was really, really good at their job. So, yeah, I don't know if it's I just got like we're the 1% or what, but I didn't have any of those issues.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I can still. I would have a rough time, I think, because most of the fun stories are about the dirtbags. That's what I'll say. I'll say dirtbags. Sounds a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, they also have. Maybe I was a dirtbag and these guys were good. I don't know. But the idea is, I'd be afraid to tell the truth, which brings me to my next question. Right. So if you think about a book that you really enjoy, or a movie, or a documentary, or a speaker, or a podcast, or whatever it is. Truth is key to telling the story. And not that someone would be untrue. I don't mean that at all. What I mean is, I'll use Rudy Reyes as a good example. Everyone knows Rudy. All the Marines love Fruity Rudy. He's the archetypal hero, right? He's a badass. He was recon. They call him the murder hippie. He has a book out called Hero Living. And in that book, there's a term, I'm gonna mess it up, but it's like open up your veins and bleed on the paper. Right. And in his book, he literally opened the veins and bled on the paper. I mean, he talked about his esteem as a child, getting sexually abused and physically abused, and just really brutal, honest truth. But it made his story authentic, and I don't think of him any less of a person. I mean, you shouldn't. How does truth come into writing a story, and how does it affect the way that the story comes out?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the dudes these days, that are successful, rightfully so. There are a lot of special operations guys. Obviously, they're going to get a lot of the attention, but rightfully so. A lot of the special operations guys did some crazy stuff, the past 20 years, well, not just 20 years, but, our war, our generational war. But, how many conventional warfare guys, get to tell their story?
Right.
And so I figured if I could put myself in a vulnerable state that enables people to say, somebody like me, like I'm considered a pogue, right? I'm not a grunt. I'm not infantry. I'm not special forces. I'm not anything special. I'm an average brown dude from LA. So if I could have a significant story or event and live through it, then hopefully being vulnerable will allow others to come forward, because let's be real, special operations weren't the only ones kicking in doors. Even just the basic infantry, like a lot of those guys saw a lot of shit. So their stories need to be told. And those that pass, like for instance, my story, Lieutenant Parton, every podcast, every talk, every time I talk about the book, whatever it is, his name has to come up at least once. Like, that's just the way it is. I refuse to not talk about him. If you don't talk about someone, they die twice. So I will forever keep his name going. And, if I don't talk about him, that doesn't inspire other people to talk about people that they had lost. So how many other Lieutenant Partons are there out there that you just don't know their name because veterans are too scared to talk about their experiences? So if I open up myself and show that it's fine, then hopefully it'll have a domino effect.
Sure. That's got to be, I think, the hardest thing as a veteran and as a guy, I guess, is the V word. I don't even like to say the word vulnerable, right? Going to therapy is about as close to that as I could get. I'm still working on that, but that's a very, very uncomfortable place to be. And that's a good point, right? That's kind of what I was getting at, I guess, is, how much truth do you tell about yourself? How much are you willing to be vulnerable? And I think if you're not willing, there's two things that's going to happen. One, you're not going to grow as a person. And two, readers are going to be completely, you can kind of smell the bullshit, right? If you're not showing who you are in your true colors, then you just become a flavorless story. I went 6 or 7 years, 6 years, because I had another podcast before this, without ever telling my story. And Jeremy, did you give me the interview? I can't remember.
Yeah, I did.
That was the first time I had ever talked about, I think I talked about it once on Call Sign Silkies with Dan Mallard. We can't have an episode without bringing up old Danny boy. That was close, but then with Jeremy, I just was like, all right, fuck it. Here's the floodgates. But yeah, there's a level of catharsis on that. And I think a lot of veterans, especially the fact that we deal so much with veteran mental health, is that ability to be vulnerable. Some people embrace that shit, man. They're bawling their eyes out. They're doing it. Others, it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Let's move on here. As I was doing that, I was messing with my screen and I lost my, okay, here we go. You had mentioned that you took a lot of pictures and took a lot of video and recordings and stuff like that. It dawned on me today when I was writing these questions that, and this is kind of off topic, but it's still pretty interesting. The global war on terror has to absolutely 100% be the most documented military or whatever you want to call it, engagement? No. Whatever. In the history of mankind. Because how many people did you serve with that were carrying cameras during firefights? Or really, that would be it. And nowadays, I mean, gosh, since 12, 13, 14 with social media, I mean, people are putting stuff up all the time. So it's really got to be, how much documentation do you think you collected during your deployments?
Quite a bit, probably about a half of a terabyte worth.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's incredible. And I think what's going to be good about that is, our grandkids and our kids are going to get a good, like, first person experience as to what life was like. Did you do the mundane stuff, like the chow hall or sitting, I don't know, throwing rocks at your buddies or whatever it is? Did you try to get everything recorded?
Not that much. I mean, on a lot of on mission stuff. I mean, a few things probably in the barracks, joking around, some funny stuff, but a lot of it was combat related or out in sector.
Yeah, don't lose that. That stuff's important. And in fact, and I'm trying to get him on the show, but he's busy. Funker, Jeremy, what's it called? Funker 365? Funker?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Funker 365.
It's Funker something. Funker 88. No, that's Iraq Vet 88. Whatever
Funker
it is.
530?
Yeah, that's it, I think.
Funker530.com. Yep.
Yeah, he fantastic site, but he collects all the videos that people take. Do you know what happened to me? I had gosh, remember, this is a long time. This is back early in the war, children. Sit around, an old man tell you. But it was like in 2006, I had it must have been like a 250 megabyte. Yeah, probably maybe even a 500 megabyte hard drive. And I couldn't tell you. I always had a video camera with me and I would duct tape it to like certain areas in the aircraft and try to get like combat landings and maybe try to get a threat and all that stuff. And I put it all on this hard drive. It was the type that wasn't solid state, and it fried. So if you're listening and you can fix a old school hard drive, I think it's a hard drive. It's like whatever, external hard drive. Let me know, because I've got like hundreds and hundreds of photographs that I feel like are lost forever. That's neither here nor there, but I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people listen, and I would like to know if you can fix that for me. Let's move along. I want to talk about, let me pull it up here, your reasons for joining the military. So I like this paragraph or two paragraphs because I've heard this so many times. In fact, I see myself in the way you wrote this, but let me turn to the side so I can actually read it. As I was left home alone, I watched my peers along with Tony, your brother, continue their education and careers outside of LA. Well, I kept waking up and doing the same thing, completely lost and not knowing which route would be the best for me. Hey, Alex, can I get a first adulthood depression for 200? I would webcam Tony every couple of days to keep in contact with him, but we both saw a difference in my demeanor. I was letting my peach fuzz, next page, facial hair grow out, as well as letting myself go physically. He could tell I wasn't happy, and I was depressed at being home alone while everyone else was going out and making a difference with their lives. Tony had even walked onto the football team and got to fulfill his dream of playing as a Michigan Wolverine. He also won a Rose Bowl ring with them. Okay, I have to do something. Really, really common. Really, really common. Tell me about your going through that and discovering the military and how the military could give you something other than an ordinary life.
I mean, I think I was like everybody else. I always had an interest in the military. I always kind of wanted to serve. I had aspirations in some way. I just didn't know what that was. Growing up watching war movies, and my grandpa had served, but that was about the extent of military service in my family. So yeah, I think I always knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know what branch or any of that.
Okay. It was definitely in your blood, because I remember you saying in the book about your grandfather. He was in the early 50s, probably the Korea era.
Yeah, he's Korea.
And your grandma too, though, she was a black belt in karate. There's some warrior spirit there.
Yeah. For sure.
In what ways did that influence you? I mean, was it like, so Donnie O'Malley was on, and he was talking about how when he was a kid, he watched war movies and he knew he was a psychopath right off the bat, because he's like, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to go shoot bad guys. But I don't know, what was it, the stories? Was it the honor? What was it that pulled you in that direction? It's a big decision to make.
Yeah, I think it was probably more or less the experience. He's talked about Korea a lot, seeing the world, meeting different people, and I was just kind of stuck in that Los Angeles bubble and seeing the same people, the Southern California vibes. I didn't know what snow looked like, or desert or any of that stuff. People with accents, from the South, never seen them before. So I was just so sheltered, up to that point, and I wanted to just have experience. And that was one thing that he kind of preached a lot.
Sure. And you knew too at the time, what was this, 07, 08?
Yeah, I joined early 08.
Okay. So you knew that, when I joined, it was a few months before September 11th, and I was totally prepared to go to Europe, go to Hawaii, go wherever, and just kind of travel on Uncle Sam's dime. You knew enlisting in the Army that you would most likely end up in Afghanistan. Were you aware of that, or were you like, who knows?
No, I thought for sure I was going to go to Iraq. That's where I wanted to go.
Okay.
I had no idea. I didn't really know much about Afghanistan at all.
Okay. In what ways, and maybe it didn't, I can tell you that I'm half Irish and I love a good fight. Love it. And I feel it's in my DNA. In what ways did your Native American culture influence your decision?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research just because it's hard because I'm not from the reservation. So a lot of it was self-research, talking to my grandmother and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just in the blood, man. It's just the way we're built. We want to fight. It's just kind of that warrior spirit, but at the same time, we want to protect our own. Very Native Americans are just very homey people, very peaceful people. They just don't like to get pushed. And, I kind of get that from my grandma, being a black belt. She was always sticking up for herself and stuff. So, yeah, man, it's just in the blood. I don't know what it is.
Sure. Was there a lot of, or I say was, but you're still in, is there a lot of other Native Americans that you served with?
No. Yeah, I mean, here and there is a few, but nothing crazy.
It always fascinates me, the different cultures that have influence on service, like the Filipinos. Everybody knows a Filipino that they served with. I mean, I served in my squadron with 10, maybe even more. I might be totally underestimating that. And this is a 200-man and woman squadron. Let's say 10% easily were Filipinos. And I got to have someone on of that culture, because I need to know what it is about them that makes them want to serve so much. I don't know, Jeremy, I assume you've served with Filipinos.
So I've served with quite a few, and they're probably some of the most passionate and definitely hard charging people. There's a couple of Filipinos that I served with, even though we're no longer friends. They were very dedicated, very hardcore people, very big into their culture. So if you any kind of offense and you knew it, for one, and two, any kind of offense, you really knew it. So it was there, you know, if you did, they always brought food to wherever we were at. It was always, hey man, we brought this from home, and damn the food, because holy shit, fuck the chow hall, fuck anything else. They came up with they would feed us. It was great. At least the guys I served with. Nice.
Yeah, the South Pacific, that's always fascinated me, the culture, like the Maoris. There's a video out there of, the Fijis. Where are they from again? New Zealand. These guys doing the Haka. They were New Zealand infantry unit, and they were burying one of their own. And have you ever seen this, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's a farewell Haka. Yeah.
Yeah. When I finish the interview here, pull that up. I want to show that at the end there, because man, that thing is when I watch it. Try not to get choked up when you watch that. It's just so phenomenal. But all right, we're getting in the weeds here. Here's a side question, and then we'll get off the Native American thing there. But you hear everything on the news, and people are sensitive and stuff like that. How do you feel about the names of weapon systems when we use things like Apache or the Tomahawk missile, or how do you personally feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that get offended. But I talk about that in the book, that there's actually a reason behind that. Mm-hmm. There used to be, there still isn't an agreement between the Army and, the federal government, the United States Army, and all the Native American tribes. And it's, I don't know why, but it's specifically for aviation aircraft, the Black Hawk, Lakota, Kiowa, Chinook, all that stuff. They have to be approved by the reservations, by those specific tribes, and obviously by the Army. And when they come to an agreement, that tribe has to come and do a blessing ceremony on the aircraft before it can actually go into service. And every time there's a new aircraft introduced, the same process has to be made. They have to contact the local Native Americans or whatever Native Americans they want to contact, because there's obviously different kinds, and they have to go through that process. So that's still built to this day.
Yeah, I think it would be an honor. I just always thought that, and I think it would be a shame. I mean, because what are you going to do if you stop doing that? You'll just, we won't talk about it. I mean, you had mentioned, talking about stuff is what keeps people alive, and talking about that is what keeps it in the culture. Another weird note there. And I thought about this when you said that. So what are your thoughts on memorial bracelets? Because, there's a lot of back and forth. Some veterans hate them. Some veterans love them. I look at it as, just yesterday I was at the dentist, and the dental assistant was sitting next to me, and she started asking me about my bracelet. So I mentioned the 4 names that are on there. And in a conversation in a corner of North Carolina, at a dentist office, we're talking about these people that gave their lives. And I think that is, I can't find a reason not to wear one. But what are your thoughts on them?
Obviously that's key to it, is keeping them alive. I'm talking, I wear 2 of them. They're scarred in my wrist. I don't take them off ever for, now 10, 11 years. Mm-hmm. And I replace them, but there's not a day I don't not wear them. As far as veterans saying they don't like them, I just think that's fucking stupid. I've never heard of a veteran say they don't like it, but I don't see the reason as to why they would say that. Me personally, I replace them every couple months, just because, I bang my wrist against stuff and they get all scratched up. And I know some guys that, like, I've had some people ask me, because some people wear them and they're like really worn down and they've lost the black color and they're all scratched up. I try to keep mine looking new all the time. And I do that because when my uncle died, my grandma used to go take me to go take flowers to his grave. And we went every, like, once a week. And every time we went, she would cut the weeds herself. She'd pluck all the weeds around it. She would take baby wipes and wipe down the grave thing. And I didn't understand it, because I was like, they have dudes here that work here, and that's their job, is to, like, make this place look nice. Like, what is she doing? And it was just taking care of the grave. It's just like, just the upkeeping. So this is like the same thing. It's just the same thing as it was or would be in the ground. It's my memorial. It's the same thing. So I wanted to always make it look nice and pretty. So when they start to get scratched up, I do the best I can to do them due diligence, and I just replace the whole bracelet, but I wear them every time. So I think they're special, and I don't wear it to have conversation with people, like they're for me. You know what I'm saying? I look down at them. I can think about them and stuff. So as far as the veterans don't like them, I mean, they could fuck off. But.
Yeah, I agree. I just look at it as it like that. I mean, this is a perfect example. Just yesterday, having a conversation about someone that I served with, and it's like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that there. And it's not like you're just going to bring it up randomly to people. So, yeah, interesting take on that. You held a variety of positions: driver, gunner, platoon medic, team leader, designated squad marksman, squad leader, MMS NCO, special reaction team NCOIC, and platoon sergeant. What was your favorite job thus far?
That's hard. I loved all my leadership positions. I just love being with soldiers and deploying was amazing. Leading soldiers in combat was the ultimate leadership position. But I think medic was probably one of my favorite ones, just because you get to help people. So,
sure. I'm a PA, so I agree with that. Good answer. I want to talk about your young enlisted experiences versus being an NCO. Did you enjoy taking that leadership role?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I had some great leaders before me that kind of paved the way for me, and they were kind of building me up for it. So I felt comfortable when the time came because, I'd been asking all those right questions up to that point, and my leaders were doing the best they could to groom me. So, yeah, it was a pretty good, easy transition for me.
Do you think NCO training prepares you for leadership outside the military? That's a big thing, because a lot of people struggle with transition. Do you think it does? Do they keep that, I guess, in mind when they're training you?
Yeah, I think for sure. It's not even training. It's not even institutional training. It's not any type of training the Army provides. I just think being a leader in the Army, whether you think about it or not in that time, is definitely transferable when you get out. When I made sergeant, I had just turned 21. So like maybe 21 in like 2 months. And it's like at 21 years old, like what the fuck do I know in life to take two soldiers underneath me and who are a couple years younger than me, 18 years old. And I have to lead these two into combat and then take care of their finances and stuff. And so that's the thing is like the Army don't care. I could be a specialist tomorrow or yesterday, and I pinned sergeant today. And you know what I'm saying? And tomorrow I'm their leader. I have to be a psychologist, a sociologist, a kinesiologist, a doctor, a finance advisor. I need to know all these things because their problems are my problems. I got to take care of it. And I have to learn things I didn't know before, right? I have finances, for example. No one ever taught me anything, but when my soldiers had finance issues, I had to figure it out and make sure they got the money, figure out 401ks, figure out retirement plans, things that people just didn't teach me. But I got to learn different people from different walks of life. And when I leave the military, I'm going to have, up to this point right now in my career, I've had 237 soldiers underneath my command up to this point. And, I keep a little book and I keep track of all of them. And I could hopefully transfer out of the military and use all the experiences I gained in service and, hopefully help me in that sector.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that there's, it's not just leading a platoon on a mission. It's you're back at the in garrison. There's life, right? There's people with family issues, and you got to actually step up and help those guys out. A lot of people don't think of that. You served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Am I correct?
Yep.
What surprised you most about serving in a combat zone? Now I'm looking at from what you prepared for mentally to actually being there and serving.
I don't know. I had no idea what Afghanistan was going to be like, so it was hard for me to say or have an expectation of it. But I think combat itself, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I guess you see what you think it is in the movies and TV shows and stuff, and it's completely different in real life.
Sure, it's not as glamorous. I always thought, as a kid, I'm like, oh, if the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be awesome. And the first time the shit hit the fan for me, I was like a chicken with a head cut off. I still don't know. I mean, it just doesn't come naturally being in that situation, being in a weird situation. I have a couple quotes. I realize we're running late here. Trying to think which one we should go with. Let's do this one. I hated dealing with IEDs. They were not used. Hold on. I keep turning it the wrong way so I can't see it. Oh, there we go. They were not used often in Afghanistan as compared to Iraq, but they were still haunting us regardless. Standing at an IED site or watching vehicles pass in front of you, you spiked anxiety. You always wondered how it would feel if it exploded under your face or exploded in your face. How fast would it be if this blew up right now? Would I feel anything? Would I bleed out slowly? Now, that's the question I have is, and we kind of just, I guess, touched on that with the last question. What's worse, do you feel, for mental health? The scenarios that you make up in your head, like we just read, or when the scenario actually plays out?
It's going to be when the scenario plays out. I mean, we all think it. Soldiers today who've never experienced combat think it. Man, what would I do in this scenario? Of if this popped off, I would do this. And like, you always think in those scenarios. That doesn't really, to me, that never affected my mental psyche. That never messed with my head in any way. They're fake scenarios. But it's also because I saw the real scenarios, and it's easy for me to decipher. And the real ones, some of them you just can't train for. So those are the ones that you need to be worried about.
This is a little messed up, but so I was the opposite, right? The shit that would play out in my head, I obviously wasn't trained mentally, I guess, to be able to figure out what to do with that. It was always worst case scenario. And when we would fly, I would prepare for that. And if let's say we got engaged with a surface to air missile, or someone tried to light us up with a PKM, I was relieved, because I was like, oh, there it is. Now I don't have this fake shit going on in my head. There's the real deal. Let's do what we're trained to do and try to survive this. It's a mind fuck. Totally. I read, actually, no, let's move on from there. What is it? 902? Okay, we can go on from there. Let's see. I want to make sure we get all, do you know what? Let's end it off with this then, because I want to make sure we touch some other things. Tell us about Veteran.
Yeah, Veteran is it's a company that my buddy Rocco started, and he's doing a lot of giveaways. He's trying to get people engaged with the program, but essentially his in-state goal is to have multiple medical clinics and facilities in like all the major cities. Essentially, it's going to be a clinic that does the VA's job but better. They're going to have the doctors, the kinesiologists, psychologists. It's going to be a hangout spot for veterans to just come. They want to play PS4 in a room together, hang out with other veterans, a social place, that's fine. But it's also going to have all the medical screening facility type stuff that you need. They'll even have the administrative stuff so that you don't have to wait in line at the VA. You can go to the veteran clinic. They could file all of your VA paperwork for you. Like if you're going to enhance your percentage, or you're going for your first percentage look, or whatever the case may be. And then that way, when you go to the VA, you're kind of already set up for success, and you don't have to make appointments in the already backlogged system that they have. So it's a long process for the in-state of what we want to see accomplished. But right now, we're doing just the small things. We're selling like T-shirts for raffle tickets to give away other prizes, and then using some of that money to help support the start of these medical facilities.
Nice. You also mentioned, I think it was on your website, that you donated your uniform to a historical preservation group. I couldn't find it again. I read it. I'm like, that's really cool. I wanted to learn more about that, but then I lost it. What was that organization?
It was the Global War and Terrorism History Project, and they go around and they collect artifacts, but they collect things from veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that, and uniforms, helmets, things that had seen combat that have a story attached to them, and then they display these out. This was obviously before COVID, but they would go around and they would set up shop and then show people all across the country.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to learn more about that. I think that's pretty cool, and I think it's important. I mean, my undergrad was in history, so it's important to preserve your history and tell your stories, which is kind of why I started the podcast to begin with, was to get this stuff out there. And we kind of touched on it too with all the documentation of the global war on terror. Okay, I think that's all the time we have. Where can folks find your book, find your apparel, speak engagement? Like, where do you want to drive people to learn more about Sean Ambriz?
Yeah, so I have a website, SeanTobiasambriz.com. The Ghost of the Valley is on Amazon, Nook, and Kindle. And then we're waiting for the Audible to come out here. I mean, it could be any day now. And then that's going to be like dual narrated by myself and another narrator. And then they can find me on Facebook, Sean Tobias Ambriz, and Instagram is Chief_Pinkmist.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I like that name, Pinkmist, man. That's Chief Pinkmist. That's pretty awesome. How is reading for the? If you haven't noticed, because of I think it's because of my TB. I could be a bunch of things, but looking at words and getting them to come out of my mouth is really difficult. I mean, it would take me like 100 takes to read something instead of just going off the cuff. How was that process?
For the audiobook?
Yeah, to have to sit there and read your book out loud and have someone be like, do that again.
So I didn't do the whole book. The publisher paid a guy, that has one of those radio voices. He narrated the entire book. If you have read my book, you'll see that, like, say, for instance, in the middle of a battle, there's a bunch of italicized stuff, and it's like my own internal dialogue, like I'm thinking in my head in that moment. I went and recorded that at a local recording studio here. So when the Audible is doing its thing, the guy will be narrating the combat scenario, what's going on, and then when I have like a smart ass comment or I'm having an internal thought, you'll actually hear my voice come in.
That's cool.
And say it. So it's kind of dual. It's something different.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of doing it.
It's cool.
Awesome. Well, Sean, thank you for coming on. If it wasn't folks like you who come on to share their stories, we wouldn't have a show. So I always appreciate it. Hopefully you can drive some people towards your website, maybe sell some books or whatever. I don't know. You told your story. Maybe it saved a life. We don't know. That's why we do this. So thank you very much for coming on, and all the luck for your, remaining 8 years? Is that right? 8 years? E9, 2024. Watch. You're gonna be like, holy shit, how'd that happen? I'm a fast burner. Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Jeremy, did you pull up that Haka thing?
I sure did.
I'm going to try to, let's see if I can watch this without getting teary. I don't tear. I'm not vulnerable. That's a V word. I don't use that. Oh, damn. How freaking awesome is that?
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. Go to the very beginning again. Isn't there a dude with a ghillie suit walking up, kind of like with there he is. And they just come out. Man, whew, that's awesome. All right.
Yeah, go right into it.
Well, that's it. That's all I got for this week. If you're watching this, call right now. I'm going to see if anyone is actually going to do it. Call, text, write. What else can we do? Throw smoke signals up.
Email, snail mail.
Yes.
Careful on the DMs.
Your job right now is to get in touch with someone you served with and just be like, hey man, thinking about you. Whatever. That's what you do. That's what we do. Head over to irreverentwarriors.com to find out all the information on the upcoming hikes and all that good stuff. Head over to 21gun.net. Spell it out. 21gun.net. I got into an issue just recently. I don't remember who it was, but I was like trying to put or drive everyone to the right website. Dude, I screwed it up.
10 points.
21 whatever, 21gun.net. Actually, you know what? For now on, I'm just going to send everyone to 21gun.net, and then all the links will be there. I'll even put the IW Facebook page. It'll all be linked there. Then I like to say one thing, 21gun.net. Instagram, it's at 20. I'm just kidding. That's it. That's all I got. Jeremy, what do you got?
You said it all, man. Reach out. Don't hesitate. The year starts anew, but it's not over. So reach out.
That's right. All right. Take care, everyone.